I'd like to welcome our speakers. Oh, Paul's taken his seat already. And I've got a neck problem, so we're going to reverse the photos. I'd like to welcome next to me here Mustafa from, the UK, we'll say from London. And Sergey, if you'd like to join Paul. And Yorgos Georgiou. And you've got a mic between two people. There you go. I think it's Sergey first. So, we've tried to split the chat into 4 parts. Obviously, we're a bit late to start, but we'll get through everything. And what I'd like to do before we get started, rather than reading everyone's bio, which is available in the program, I'm going to let you all introduce yourselves. So, take it away. Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi everyone, I'm Mustafa. I'm an interior designer. I lead an architecture and interior design studio between Nicosia and London. And more recently, in the last couple of years, I started a sustainable startup. We turn olive pits from the island, from olive oil manufacturing, into beautiful, sustainable surfaces. So, playing 2 hats here. Pleased to be here.
Thank you.
Hi guys, very full room. So thank you all for coming. Hi, Paul Niarchou. I've been in the UK for 20 years. I'm a partner and co-owner of DFI. We are a real estate private equity firm, so we invest in all asset classes across Europe. We've got about 4 billion AUM, and we're scaling the business to 10 billion over the next 2-3 years.
Sergey Osipov. I'm tech entrepreneur. I launched more than 20 businesses, mainly in prop tech. I'm originally from Minsk, Belarus. Have been living in Cyprus more than 10 years, so I think that I'm almost local. Right now, I'm a founder of Placey AI, assistant for real estate agencies, property management firms, the Cypriot startup.
Good morning. It seems that I am the only local here. My name is Yorgos Georgiou. I'm the sales director of Cybarco Development Limited. Cybarco is the company that has constructed Limassol Marina, Trilogy, Aphrodite Hills, a lot of projects in Limassol, Nicosia, and some other places in Cyprus, so you probably are aware of it. I have been in the industry for 18 years, and I'm looking forward for our short discussion here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so that's a good handover to me. I work with Yorgos. I'm the marketing communications manager at Cybarco Development Limited. And ironic, really, that I'm moderating this panel because I can genuinely say hand on heart that because of our projects and the high net worth individuals that we deal with, we still rely very much on traditional methods for our sales and marketing. So I am actually very keen to hear what the speakers have to say as well. And I'm going to get straight to the point, to the heart of the topic, because the person best equipped to talk about sort of the digital era is Sergey. And I'm going to hand over to you to tell us a little bit about the 4th Industrial Revolution.
This is Industrial Revolution. The scale of change is comparable, in my humble view, with the invention of steam engine or electricity in 19th century. So everything which is related to language should be right now disrupted by the large language models. I mean, everything, text, speech, documents, numbers, that's everything. Everything, step by step, all that rows managing textual stuff will be replaced by robots, for sure. It's just inevitable. It's already completely understandable. So, for talking about the real estate agency industry in particular, maybe we have less concerns about the developers or construction firms. However, real estate agencies and property management firms definitely will change significantly. Not just an example, our Placey AI assistant speaks 50 languages, can work at nighttime, at Sundays, and her salary is just 500 euro per month. It is not comparable with human, and conversion rates actually much better because she can she can perform much better. She can use CRMs at least, comparing with the Cypriot realtors. So it's quite obvious. But what is not obvious, how this future will look like in the details. Right now, we don't know this. However, we can ask ourselves the right questions, how to prepare our businesses to this future. And in my view, this panel can be something about this.
Okay, thank you very much. So Yorgo, over to you. Time to look for a job, clearly, unless you're going to have the efficiency of a robot. But I'm curious, because we have this discussion a lot when we're looking at our strategy and new markets. And it's funny because we discuss all of these things and we always end up doing what we've always done because it's a formula that works for us. And, you know, it's questionable for how long we can rely on that because everyone else is moving ahead. So I'm just curious to understand a little bit about the evolution of development and sales in the 2 decades that you've been in the sector. Do you see changes not only with our projects, but mainly customer needs? Is the customer also changing in the way that he wants to learn about what our available properties are and his viewings and the whole sales process?
Yes, I think as humanity evolves, the industries evolve, so people evolve as well. In that sense, the real estate industry and the clients have been evolving, and usually there have been some milestones that change the behavior of the clients. If I go into the Cypriot environment the last 15, 20 years, I could tell you about pre-2013, before the banking crisis. We have seen the clients coming to Cyprus. They were, their behavior was more like it was an emotional purchase for real estate. They were going after their lifestyle aspirations rather than financial returns or as an investment. At the time, there were not a lot of public listings, so the clients did not know a lot about the industry and they didn't know about what they were buying. So they were relying a lot on the agents and the advisors. And the selling cycle at that time was quite long because we had the clients coming in, doing property tours, coming back again. So it was a quite long cycle. After 2013, we had a change. We had a change in the behavior in the sense that people now are becoming more skeptical and more financial prudent. They saw that a lot of companies have gone bankrupt or had financial problems in Cyprus. So now in their buying behavior, new elements came in the picture. These elements were, they wanted to have legal transparency. They wanted to have title deeds. They were doing due diligence. And we had more people entering into the decision making, like accountants and lawyers and advisors. That element has created the selling cycle to be even more because now we had to deal with a lot of paperwork. The third element that came after, it was COVID and post-COVID. COVID and post-COVID, because of the travel restrictions, so people could not come easily. So a new element has entered into the market. Virtual tourings, video calls. People were, had a lot of time to look into things. So these things came into our industry. And now we had to deal with people that they knew a lot about the product. They were studying a lot about, they had the time and they were reading and they had a lot of information about what they were going to buy. So they were much more educated. And at that time, some other elements came in the picture. Now we had clients that they were looking for houses with offices because they were thinking that the remote office is going to be a part. They were looking for outside gardens because they wanted to spend outside. So this has created a new sense. And now, if I can say the new era, now the digital transformation era, now we have another element. We have the clients that they are looking for good service. They want to use WhatsApp. They want to use Telegram. They want to have AI. They communicating with us 24 hours a day through WhatsApp. So it's a completely different situation now. Selling cycle is shorter. The clients know what they want. They come here and they know about the schools next to the projects. They know the airports. They know everything. They're much more educated. And it makes our life easier, but we have to keep working on catching up because technology is always an important element.
Thanks.
So this is how I see the evolution in the last 15 years.
Yeah, no, thank you. So that was very explanatory. And ironically, I mean, you know, you should never talk about the pandemic in jest, but I almost feel sometimes as if COVID was a blessing for Cyprus because it encouraged digitization and digitalization. If it wasn't for COVID, we'd have been even further behind. We'd have been a decade behind. At least it encouraged us to catch up a bit and to review our strategies and to adjust and to adapt. Paul, I'm going to come to you now because obviously we've spoken a little bit on the client side, sort of more frontline. What about investors and implementation of digital and innovation on your side of things?
Yeah, good question. Well, look, tech is important. It's changing massively, as everyone talks about. For us, it's been about making us kind of more efficient as a business. So turnaround times of NDAs, research reports, competitive analysis, everything is so much easier and quicker with tech. A good example was I was in Berlin 2-3 weeks ago visiting a hotel. We like to do competitive analysis. I'm walking around, and typically I would send an email to a team in India. It would take them 5 to 7 days to turn around a competition report on this hotel. Now it takes me 5 to 7 minutes, right, on my mobile phone, asking it what's around it, what am I competing with, what do ADRs look like, what comps are there in the market. So it just makes our life and our business so much more efficient and means the investors have a much more efficient product when they invest with us. So that's on the investor business side. Also on the investment side, we're becoming way more efficient. I'll give you another example. We're building a co-living, flex-living residential asset in Denmark. Typically, we would hire 3 to 5 staff at the kind of investment level, at the asset level to manage this. So janitors, cleaners, maintenance, community reception, these kind of people. What we're doing instead is we've adopted an app, an AI app, where we put all of these things in an app, to your point earlier, robots, right? So instead of having 20, 30, 40% leakage at the OPEX level, so operational costs, we have 10, 20% because we've internalized a lot of that kind of manpower in an app, and our tenants, our customers are speaking directly to the app, and if they need something, then we can send someone, right? So it makes our investments more efficient, more long-term focus, and as you said before, that pace of change is transforming, right? So we need to be looking forward, not backward, and we're constantly trying to adapt.
Mustafa, talking of the evolution of the client, the investor, and how much more better educated they are now, obviously things like sustainability in design and construction are things that they're now looking for, which was never even on our radar when most of us entered the sector. So can you tell us a little bit about 2025 and where things are with all this sustainability talk?
Sure. So the construction industry, believe it or not, contributes to the world carbon emissions by 40%, which is a colossal number. It's crazy. Aviation sector is like 18% only. So according to experts, 2 billion people will move to global cities around the world, which will cause a demand for about 2.5 trillion square feet of new space, which is equal to a new New York City every month. So crazy numbers. But this puts us real estate professionals in a unique position to design more sustainably. And around the world, a lot of developers, a lot of sort of like end users, occupiers like Google, Amazon, they're sort of like making smart moves and building with green credentials already, like LEED, BREEAM, and WELL. And even in Limassol, one of the towers that's going up at the moment, the Nucleus one, I think, is aiming to achieve LEED by upon completion. So we're sort of becoming a lot more aware of this, and we have to be. We're not even going to have choice soon because, for example, the UK has signed up to be net zero by 2050. The European Green Deal is kicking in 2 phases in 2030 and 2050, which is going to put a lot of pressure on the construction industry, right? So we need to sort of embody these changes and take them on board. And the consumer as well, a lot of the consumers are becoming a lot more aware. It's not about just what they buy, it's how they live, where they spend their time, whether it be work or living environments or social environments. So it's sort of like really, in order to be able to draw those people, you have to be able to provide those services that are, planet positive, let's say.
It's all part of an ecosystem, isn't it? Because sustainability and the green policies, then you look at mental well-being and mental health, and this is like the new trend now, especially after the pandemic. So we're going to shift over to demands and expectations. Sergey, we've spoken a little bit about the sort of the back end of things as well. What about digital strategies and trends for online platforms? Who's using them, and what do you think people in this room need to be taking into account?
Let's see what our users want. COVID and all the technological advancements changed the expectations of users, first of all. See, COVID, that means life-work balance. We can work from home. For some people, that means to work at 11 o'clock at night, for example. Some people at 6 o'clock at morning, and so on. And so the demand, they prefer to use devices. They prefer to use tech to get whatever they want. And that means for the real estate professionals, guys, you have to be online 24 hours per day. And technologically, it is possible. And our audience really expect this. This is the first point. On the side of the professionals, I would say that I spot here two very clear strategies. The first strategy is to optimize their businesses. I mean, real estate agencies business, for example. There is no possible to host so many brokers, so many human real estate agents right now, because you are just financially inefficient and you are losing your competitive advantage. You have to optimize this business. This is one strategy. Or you could use AI, you could employ more AI employees, and you could double your sales, go to other markets, go to another segments, and so on. So I mean, two completely different strategies: optimization or growth. Both of them based on AI, large language models, and all the technological advancements. That's about strategies.
Yeah.
And I mean, any strategy is fine. That we cannot do nothing. This is not a strategy, and doing nothing kills our businesses right now.
Okay, this is very, very good for everyone listening in the room. But I'm going to go over to Paul, just because I want to know a little bit about your side of things, sort of desirable themes and the fundraising landscape. What are the opportunities at the moment in relation to this topic?
Yeah, so for us, it's been about focusing on long-term trends. I think the market has been kind of ever-changing. It's very uncertain, and stock picking or asset picking has continued to be very challenging, right? You can continuously buy assets and sell assets, but you're not necessarily always going to do well. So the way we see life is about long-term fundamentals, right? And that's how we're investing in real estate. For us, we have 2 or 3 key thematics that we're investing in. I think number one is living, very broadly defined. So residential, student accommodation, healthcare, everything with a living focus. And that's playing on a trend of continuous supply demand across markets, so we're massively undersupplied, and also a trend of preference to rent, right? So people are obviously getting pushed out of buying because of where interest rates are, but also people are preferring to rent, right? It's a commodity like travel and everything else. So that's kind of trend number one. Trend number 2 is industrial. So we like industrial assets, again, across Europe. We're playing on the trend of e-commerce. Everyone here orders online and continues to order online, and that's huge, right? So that there's way more that we need to build, and way more we need to build closer to bigger cities to supply goods at a quicker pace, which is what the modern consumer is needing, right? And then third is hospitality, and that's a trend of consumerism, right? Everyone here travels for holidays, continues to travel, and there we see a bit of a barbell effect. So we like kind of the low-cost hospitality, which is very functional, cheap, which caters to a certain demographic, and then we like the more lifestyle luxury, which we think, irrespective of recessions and whatnot, people that have money will always continue to spend, right? So we see that customer base as being sticky. So that's kind of on the investment side. On the fundraising side, I guess, look, that has been a bit more of a challenge, especially on the real estate equity side. We've had a period of heightened rates, we've had COVID, we had geopolitical issues, we've got a famous person in the US, which is causing interesting drama in the market more recently, and that uncertainty creates uncertainty with investors, right? So that has caused, I guess, a bit of a challenge over the last 2, 3, 4 years. I was actually at a panel a couple of weeks ago where there was kind of a global CIO stat, which basically said that real estate equity, so what we do was the lowest ranked, or the CIOs were most dissatisfied with it over the last 2022 to 2024, right, compared to whether it's infra or private debt or corporate private equity. So that's on the kind of more negative side. On the more optimistic and positive side, we do see a turn in the cycle. So we do see this being a really good time to start investing again. Across Europe, we see values for the right asset classes being 20-30% below peak values. So if you can raise the capital, you will do well.
Okay, very, very interesting, and I want to jump back to the first half of your response. So, Yorgo, more than a property, we say this very often, and we do try very hard at Cybarco to offer something more than just, 4 walls and a home or an office. Tell us a little bit about the strategy that we're following in terms of the demand from investors and buyers for lifestyle and investment and ROI and rent.
Okay, from a property standpoint, let's go to the basics. The basics are we have to, as developers or as people who are selling, we have to satisfy our clients' needs. So this is the most important, and we have to start from there. So going back to 20 years ago, in Cyprus, I will focus on the foreign market. What were the clients asking for? They just wanted an apartment or a villa, a standalone villa or apartment somewhere in Cyprus, just to enjoy the 3 S's: sun, sea, and security. So this is how we are developing at the time, and that's how we are meeting our client needs. But as time was passing by and the involvement of the people and their requirements are coming into the picture, people wanted now to belong to a community. They wanted to belong to a neighborhood. It was very important for them to socialize with others. So after that, we see the shift of individual standalone properties into projects. For you who know, in Cyprus, you have Aphrodite Hills. It was the first one that it was an integrated project, because at that time clients wanted to have it was not only sun and sea, they wanted to have a gated community, they wanted to have security, they wanted to have common areas, they wanted to have playgrounds for children, swimming pools, and so on. So this is how the projects came into the picture maybe 10 years, 12 years ago. And after that, the evolution of that is the mixed used projects. Now, besides what the normal projects were, now we added in the picture commercial element. We have the commercial, we have offices, food and beverage. So some projects that could be a good example is Limassol Marina and Trilogy. Like in Trilogy, we have the motto, work, live, and play. Work, live, and play, because everything was in that project. So the mixed projects, they offer everything to the clients right now. And the clients are willing to pay 10 to 20% premium in order to belong to these projects. And the rental yields and the appreciation of the value is also much higher than in normal situations. So this is how the development of the property itself happened in Cyprus.
Mustafa, you're more on the commercial side, aren't you? So I'd love to hear a little bit from you about sort of the impact of the pandemic and the flow over the last decade and into the future on the commercial side.
Sure. So actually, based on what you were saying, on the commercial side, especially in cities like London and New York, big urban spaces, since the pandemic, it's going the other way. So offices are becoming spaces that are looking and feeling more like hospitality spaces with a touch of like hominess, because people don't want to be going to a white stark cube with rows and rows of desks. They want to go and feel comfortable there. And offices, since the pandemic, have had to work really hard to pull people back to the spaces. So they can't just put a rule and say you need to be coming back to the office 5 days a week or 3 days a week. They need to work hard from the design perspective and their offerings to be able to enable that. So that's been a huge shift in the last few years. And similarly, interestingly, the hospitality spaces then are working harder to allow for people to work from there. So, like you can see in a lot of restaurants, hotels, they're changing their lounge areas to offer co-working, because then they can start offering that as a service. So they're not just one tone, one service anymore. So this sort of like blend of both is where I see the future. And added to this in the last few years, as you were also saying, the biophilic side, so designing with nature in mind, with humans' connection to nature, bringing that in, especially after the pandemic, has been a huge sort of like sweeping through and a bit of a trend, design style. So that's super interesting, from creating natural spaces to using materials made from waste, like what we're doing with the pit table, just a little advert there. And sort of like more this connection to nature and feeling safe within it. For example, for Capital One, which is a huge American bank, their UK HQ, we designed a space that felt like a members club. So you wanted to, it was about like a 2,000 square foot facility within their existing offices. And it was just basically designed with, it had toilets that had clay plaster all over the walls, curves, ambient lighting, and you just felt like you walked into a spa rather than another office building. So it's really sort of accommodating for that and really creating these hubs where people feel a sense of belonging, this community you were talking about. So yeah, bang on, but on the other side, so interesting.
I want to stick with you for a second, because I want to be mindful of time. So I just want to jump to Cyprus. I want to kind of like zoom in a little bit. Where do you think we're lagging behind? Because obviously what you're talking about is very much on the international landscape. What do you think we need to be mindful of here in order to increase our competitiveness?
Sure. So I think our competitive edge lies with our landscape, the climate, the sort of architectural heritage tapestry that we have throughout the island, as well as this sort of like rising group of Cypriots and sort of people who call Cyprus home. Their sort of efforts to create something not just for Cyprus, but for the world. So we really need to tap into these resources and sort of like enhance them. Sustainability is a big thing that we need to tap into so that we're not lagging behind. And points of interest, right? There's a lot of buildings, new modern buildings are quite boring, sort of globally, but also in Cyprus. So we need to take a step back a little bit, engage with the community, strategize, plan accordingly, rather than build fast, sell fast. We need to sort of like take the step back and really understand what are the requirements. How can we sort of seamlessly blend what's new, what's old, what's belongs to nature, and sort of like really support this rising power of people.
I think, well, somebody said it in the panel yesterday, they were talking about tourism and hospitality. It comes down to vision, doesn't it, really? Because it's about having a holistic vision of where you want Cyprus to go. And on that, I want to hand back to Paul, because you did mention when we spoke that Cyprus isn't really on your list of focus. So how do we make Cyprus more attractive for investment?
Yeah, so look, I'll come at this from a kind of an institutional investor mindset, right? And look, we can't run away from the fact that Cyprus is a small market in Europe, right? We're investing in the UK, in Germany, in Spain, much larger markets, right? So we can't run away from that. But what we can do is we can find certain areas and sectors where we can differentiate and have a competitive advantage, right? Be it healthcare, be it hospitality, right? So I think we just got to stay true to kind of those core areas and focus on them. And then alongside that, we need to kind of clean up and continue to clean up kind of branding, PR, and Cyprus more generally, right? There is a little bit of a tainted image in the private equity institutional investor landscape of Cyprus, right? So that is improving with time, but that needs continuous work. I was in a roundtable with the president earlier on this year, and me, along with other private equity guys that sit in London, were lobbying for more of that, more front-facing, more FT, more Bloomberg, to get Cyprus a little bit away from some of our history. So there's that, and alongside that, it's the liquidity, right? So investors don't want to be locked into investments, right? So the reason they invest and we invest in larger markets is there's always liquidity. There's always a buyer or many buyers for whatever we do, right? On the institutional scale in Cyprus, it's been a historically family-owned, family business type market where people naturally don't buy and sell a lot, but that is changing, right? The healthcare market has been disrupted by private equity players. The hospitality market has been disrupted more recently. There is new players and continual players. Leonardo from Israel is a great example. They hit the European press. Everyone knows them in Europe. So that is going to continue to change, and that hopefully is going to move in the right direction.
Okay, great. And Yorgo, can I just have a closing from you on choosing the right investment in Cyprus and how you see things going forwards? Half a minute. Go.
Okay. I think choosing the right property, you have to take in consideration 3-4 different elements. First of all, you have to make sure that market timing is good, because there are times that the markets are up or down. You have to choose location, which is very important, and then you have to choose the asset type. If you want apartment, if you want villa, is very important. If you want to buy something off plan, if you want to buy a resale, if you want to buy a ready-made. Location also, you have to consider if you want to have rental yields, higher rental yields, you have to buy a higher value property like in Limassol, or if you want to go to student housing in Nicosia. So you have to evaluate all this. And the last element that I think that a lot of people are not taking into consideration when they are doing an investment and the ROI aspect of it, they don't look into what is coming in the market, which is very important, the supply. So someone has to look what projects are coming up and what supply is coming in and what is the funnel, because that will affect their decision. Okay. You told me 1 minute, so I will not elaborate.
No, I told you 30 seconds, Yorgo. A bot would be more efficient. Sergey, can I close with you, please? Because I just want, since it was about real estate in a digital era, just give us your summary of after 2025, for Cyprus specifically, what you think, what your sort of predictions are.
Two big things. There's globalization and hyper-personalization in general. But talking about Cyprus specifically, I love the moment because, you know, Cyprus, this is the smallest market that I have ever seen, technically. But on the other hand, this is the most global market that I have ever seen. Because, see, in real estate, 46 seems to me % of our property bought by non-residents, right? So even right now, we speak here not Greek but English, and such a diversified community around us, and so many very different types of the investors you could find here in Cyprus, not just Cypriots. So I love this place, because you could live here and you are completely in the global market here. Moreover, yes, real estate is quite local, but I'm an IT entrepreneur. The majority of my businesses are really global. I live here, I love Limassol, but I manage my global businesses from this country. And I love that I cannot relax here in Cyprus because this market is so small, and I always should think globally. That means, and I just think that so many people around me with the same mindset, with the same problem, let's say, and it makes this place brilliant, actually, to exchange of the ideas. And you see here so many great minds because they are really global. On the other hand, see, on the Dutch stage side, hyper-personalization I mentioned. What does it mean? See, historically, for example, when we have a client to buy some property 10, 15 years ago, we could just give him or her, let's say, print glossy magazine. Oh, this is our Cypriot real estate, buy something. So it was enough, actually. Right now, it's not enough at all, because all the media are digital. Usually we get leads from digital media, right? So that means we have tons of data about users. AI receptionist can ask much more questions than human, can actually fill all CRM, and you have access to much more personalized information about the users, right? So that means our offers should be more personalized as well. And this is an opportunity. So AI, again, it's language models. That means places speaks 50 languages, don't forget. And that means this opportunity for Cyprus to utilize all that AI technologies to take its place, its right place, its competitive place on the international landscape with all that very personal and global at the same moment approach.
Thank you. I'm going to stop you there because I want to end on that really positive note of opportunity. And I think that's the word that we need to take away with us for Cyprus real estate. Yorgo, Sergey, Paul, and Mustafa, thank you so much. And please don't go anywhere because the amazing fireside chat we're going to have now is a beautiful kind of evolution from what we've just been discussing. So stick with us. We're just going to swap our guests over. Thank you very much.